Hello there, neighbors. Welcome back to the garden fence. Grab your tea, pull up a chair, and get comfortable because the ground beneath Montecito is shaking. And this time, it's not an earthquake, it's the sound of reality crashing down on the House of Sussex. We need to talk, and I mean really talk, about the absolute catastrophe unfolding across the pond, because the question on everyone's lips right now isn't what's next, it's what is left. Now, I know you guys are excited for more. But before we delve into further discussion, if you haven't subscribed, come on guys, what are you waiting for? Hit like, subscribe, and ring that notification bell ASAP. So now what are they going to do? Are they going to learn a new trade? Are they going to actually work? What are they going to do? Meghan can't go back to yachting. She's too old, too unattractive, according to the brutal standards of her own industry, and Harry's too much of an idiot to function in the real world without a palace handler holding his hand. They have no options left. They have burned every bridge, insulted every ally, and now the one thing they have been clinging to, the titles, is dangling by a very thin thread. We are hearing reports that they may consider stripping the Sussexes of the royal titles. Is this a worthy sanction after these unfounded allegations? Absolutely. The talk in Westminster is that all of their HRH titles will be stripped. So Harry will lose his HRH, Meghan will lose her HRH, Archie will lose the HRH, Lilibet will lose the HRH. And the reason isn't just because they are annoying, it's because Meghan tried to reinvent herself and accidentally exposed her entire game. She exposed that without the Duchess label, she is just another reality star with a failed blog. Parliament didn't whisper, hint, or warn. They went straight for the title that keeps her entire empire alive. And let's be honest, William doesn't want them back. Nobody wants them back. In spite of all the PR spin that Charles is putting out there through the mainstream media about beloved sons, the reality is cold. And I want to start this by looking at the disaster that sparked this new fire. Meghan Markle's new business empire didn't slip, stumble, or wobble. It face-planted in public, and the timing could not have been more disastrous. The funniest part? Nobody, and I mean nobody, saw this train coming down the tracks. Not her fan base who repost every filtered Montecito selfie like scripture. Not the tabloids who were actually enjoying the quiet. Not even the royal commentators who usually sniff Meghan drama before anyone else. Sure, we knew she was up to something. It was either a publicity stunt, or they wanted to be absolutely as nasty as possible. But a total commercial collapse? That is a special kind of failure. And the reaction from the British Parliament did not arrive softly, gently, or diplomatically. It arrived with the kind of controlled institutional force that only the UK government can deliver when they believe someone is tampering with the dignity of the crown. MPs began asking the questions we have all been thinking. Is it appropriate for Meghan, someone who formally stepped away from royal duties and spent years criticizing the institution, to turn around and use the title Duchess of Sussex as the very backbone of her business identity? It was not framed as a personal attack or a petty political jab. It was presented as a constitutional concern, one that blurred the line between monarchy and personal profit in a way few had ever attempted. Parliament asked them to remove the Duke title from Prince Harry. They had to. To them, Meghan's new venture was not a harmless lifestyle brand or an average celebrity rollout with pretty photographs and artisanal marketing. It was something far more serious. A commercial operation leaning heavily on a royal title that is not simply decorative, but tied directly to the state. And how have the Sussexes responded? Have they come out and spoken in defense of Charles? Have they clarified their position? No, they haven't said a word. They're copying the palace's never complain, never explain motto only when it suits them, leaving King Charles hung out to dry because he was pictured as the indulgent father allowing this farce to continue. Lawmakers argued calmly and firmly that a royal title is not a marketing tool. It is not a brand. It is not a slogan. It is not a luxury accessory one carries from the palace to California and back again to sell jam or dog biscuits. It represents duty, service, and accountability, all things Meghan publicly rejected. Yet she clings to the title like a lifeline. Why? Because without it, who is she? She is Rachel from Suits. And Rachel from Suits does not get a multi-million-dollar Netflix deal. The Duchess of Sussex does. And once Parliament positioned her brand as an attempt to commercialize that identity, the conversation shifted entirely. It was no longer about cookies and jam. It was about legitimacy, ethics, and respect for the institution she walked away from. Responding to the cries and demands from people to remove and strip those titles, the mood in London has hardened. It's just like Meghan Markle putting out this illusion of success while the foundation rots underneath. Meghan had spent months cultivating the illusion of reinvention, a softer, calmer, wiser version of herself, who had stepped away from conflict in favor of serenity. But when she launched her brand, she unintentionally revealed the one vulnerability she never wanted the world to see. She still depends on the monarchy more than she ever admitted. Every corner of her branding radiated that dependency. The visual language echoed quiet royalty. The product descriptions carried subtle aristocratic undertones. Even the design choices seemed to mimic the understated luxury of traditional royal presentation. It's the behavior of a woman who hates the family but loves the perks. She is haunted by the royal family, obsessed with them, even as she tries to tear them down. What she failed to anticipate was how clearly Parliament, the media, and the public could read between the lines. They saw a woman who had distanced herself from royal duty but tightly clung to royal privilege. They recognized the contradiction instantly, because contradictions are always louder when wrapped in expensive packaging. Meghan believed the aesthetic made it graceful. Parliament argued it made it obvious. She thought the California sunshine softened it. Lawmakers insisted it only highlighted the grift further. The more analysts examined the brand, the clearer the narrative became. Meghan had not separated from the monarchy. She had repackaged it. She had not abandoned the identity. She had redesigned it. She had not walked away. She had taken the title with her and built an empire around it. And in doing so, she revealed the one truth her critics had always accused her of hiding. Without the royal connection, the entire business model collapses. She exposed herself not through scandal, but through ambition. And look at the contrast with Prince William. While Harry flies around in private jets lecturing us all on how to reduce our carbon footprint, William is actually doing the work. He looked at this mess and reportedly felt a sense of unspoken validation. He wasn't celebrating her downfall. He's too dignified for that. But he recognized that this moment reinforced the principle the royal family had been trying to protect since the day the Sussexes stepped back. Royal titles cannot coexist with commercial ventures. It is oil and water. Once Parliament publicly questioned Meghan's use of her title, the media did what it always does when it senses a scandal brewing. It accelerated it. Outlets that had been neutral for months suddenly found themselves with a story too irresistible to ignore. Newspapers that had grown tired of Sussex drama snapped back into action with fresh headlines. Why? Because she has nothing else to talk about. She has been away for 5 years, and she is still trading on the past. She has no identity of her own. And thankfully, William is going to end all of that. No amount of articles or paid PR can stop the momentum now. The shift was immediate and intense. Headlines that had previously highlighted her new beginning were replaced with stark critiques examining whether she was exploiting the crown for personal gain. Social media discussions spiraled into heated debates, with even neutral audiences expressing discomfort at how directly the royal identity was woven into her products. The framing changed, the tone sharpened, and her brand, only days old, became synonymous not with luxury or wellness, but with controversy and entitlement. And what made the backlash especially damaging was the sheer speed at which it spread. The conversation evolved faster than her PR team could manage. For every attempt to redirect the narrative toward empowerment and lifestyle authenticity, 5 new articles emerged dissecting her reliance on the Duchess title. The narrative snowballed into something that outgrew the brand itself. Instead of discussing her products, the world was discussing her motives. And once a brand becomes a debate rather than a desire, its value begins to evaporate. Publicly, Meghan maintained her signature polished calm, that frozen smile we all know so well, but insiders describe a very different atmosphere behind closed doors. The moment Parliament's statements reached Montecito, the serenity she had carefully crafted for years cracked sharply. Emergency calls were scheduled within minutes. Advisors scattered into frantic damage control mode. Publicists drafted and redrafted responses. Lawyers debated whether escalation would resolve or worsen the situation. The household atmosphere was tense enough to feel physical. Sources familiar with the internal discussions say Meghan was not merely upset, she was livid. She believed the criticism was unfair, personal, and deliberately timed to undermine her comeback. She reportedly argued that the public interpreted her use of the Duchess title incorrectly, insisting that it was part of her identity, not a marketing strategy. But her team, whoever is left of them, recognized the severity of Parliament's involvement and urged a more cautious, measured response. They understood that a fight with Westminster is not a fight anyone wins. Still, Meghan struggled to accept that retreating might be smarter than retaliating. Her frustration stemmed from the belief that she had finally found a lane that suited her, a creative, curated, aesthetically driven world far removed from royal politics, only to be dragged back into the same conflict she had tried to escape. But she dragged herself back. She is the one who put the title on the jar. While Meghan reacted with anger and disbelief, Harry found himself collapsing inward under the weight of a crisis he had quietly predicted long before it arrived. Friends close to him say he had warned her, gently, repeatedly, that using the Duchess identity in commercial ventures would eventually trigger a backlash far bigger than anything they had dealt with during their post-royal life. He understood far better than she did that the British institution may ignore scandals, interviews, and documentaries, but it never ignores the misuse of royal titles. When he tried to caution her months earlier, she brushed it aside with confidence, believing her new California lifestyle had softened public perception enough to give her a clean slate. Now Harry's anxiety has returned with a vengeance. Those close to the couple describe him as unusually quiet and visibly shaken. He reportedly spends long stretches scrolling through news updates, rereading parliamentary statements, and revisiting online commentary as though trying to find some small reassurance hidden in the chaos. Instead, every headline reminds him that he is caught between the life he chose and the world he left behind. In private, he shoulders guilt that has nothing to do with the brand and everything to do with the title. He knows Meghan only has the Duchess identity because of him, and that realization weighs heavily. He is torn between defending his wife and acknowledging the legitimacy of Parliament's concerns. And let's look at the endgame here. As media pressure intensified, Parliament escalated the situation in a direction Meghan feared most, the legitimacy of her title. What began as a discussion about ethics evolved into a broader debate about whether Meghan should retain the Duchess identity at all. Certain MPs argued that if the monarchy wants to remain apolitical and above commercial influence, it cannot allow a former working royal to use her title as the foundation of a private business empire. The comparison to Prince Andrew's loss of honors became a talking point, not because their actions were remotely similar in nature, but because the precedent proved that titles are not guaranteed. If they strip the titles, Harry will be Henry Mountbatten Windsor. Meghan will be Mrs. Mountbatten Windsor. Archie and Lilibet will be Master and Miss Mountbatten Windsor. Just ordinary citizens. And I wonder how long the brand lasts then. I wonder how many A-listers want to come to dinner with Mrs. Mountbatten Windsor from the suburbs. Within political circles, conversations shifted from theoretical concerns to tangible legislative questions. Could Parliament limit the commercial use of titles? Could the Crown, under political pressure, choose to strip or restrict titles granted before the Sussex departure? These discussions were no longer whispers overheard in corridors. They were formally documented conversations that carried real weight. For Meghan, the threat was existential. Her brand was not built on acting credits, humanitarian work, or even celebrity relevance. It was built on the mystique of being the Duchess of Sussex. Without that, the entire business identity collapses into ordinary celebrity branding, a space already crowded with influencers and lifestyle entrepreneurs who actually have talent. Parliament was not simply questioning her choices. It was placing her entire empire on a cliff's edge, where one vote, one statement, or one royal decision could erase the foundation she depended on. And the palace? The palace did not need to issue statements. The silence became a statement in itself. They decided long ago that the Sussex drama would not be handled through public confrontation. Instead, they allowed external forces, the press, the public, and now Parliament, to enforce boundaries the monarchy refused to repeat. It is a tactical masterclass. William knows that you don't interrupt your enemy when they are making a mistake, and Meghan is making the biggest mistake of her life. If she chose to challenge Parliament, she risked provoking a constitutional debate that could spiral beyond her control. If she chose to quietly rebrand and distance her products from the Duchess identity, she would face a humiliation deeper than public criticism. The acknowledgement that her business relied entirely on a title she no longer commanded. No matter how Meghan moves forward, her empire will never return to the clean, untouched dream it was the day she launched it. Parliament didn't simply criticize her brand, it exposed the vulnerability she tried hardest to hide. Her empire only existed because of the title she thought she could outrun. So neighbors, the clock is ticking, the walls are closing in, the jam jars are empty, and the titles are on the line. What are they going to do? I think we all know the answer. They are going to panic. But for the rest of us, watching the House of Windsor stand tall while the House of Sussex crumbles is a reminder that dignity always wins in the end. I'm going to go pour myself another cup and check on my hydrangeas. At least they know how to bloom without a title. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Should Parliament strip the titles immediately? Is Meghan's brand officially dead? I read every single one of your comments. Stay safe, stay loyal, and God save the King. Cheerio, ta-ta, and bye for now.